Okay, should be live. All right. So, Friday. I usually have a video that goes up at 2, but today we're doing live because um, I only have a little bit of stuff to do today, but mainly I need to work in my GM journal that I decorated and then I've been using now for the last couple of weeks. It's been going really well. I'm not going to show too much information because this journal is the prep that I do for the games that I am going to be running. So it has, secrets and spoilers and all that jazz. So I'm not going to this should be backwards so that hopefully it makes it harder for people to read. And then I'm not going to go into depth about anything that I know other like GMs or players might not want to know on live. So essentially, I am just going to work on 3 things in this next hour. Very first thing is that I need to essentially make a list of all of the stuff I still need to do for my world building, finalizing my world building. Recently, I worked on roles. If you watched my character sheet video, what was that called? I don't know. I don't know what videos are called that I actually put up on YouTube. It was my changing systems, video where I explain how I'm changing Divinity's War from 5e, Dungeons& and Dragons 5e, to this new system that I just learned, Open Legend. I've never played this system before. I have heard of it, I just have never played it before. I was, like, gifted the PDF, but I also bought the actual book, and so I have that here because I'm a tabber. I'm just that type of person, when I look at stuff, so this is what I'm mainly having in front of me, usually, like, on a literally just open to what I think I'm going to use, and then I will make notes on a Word document, almost like a cheat sheet. I have already made a cheat sheet. I've made both a GM cheat sheet and a player, cheat sheet, just for easy reference, but I do have the hard copy that will really be what I will be using to like I said, in one of my older videos, like, a couple weeks ago, best way to learn a new system is just do it. Like, just have the book open, um, reference as you need to, ask, your players to just wait one moment while you look something up, and in time, with practice and with playing the game, you will start to learn it a little bit better. Best way to do it, so, luckily, I'm comfortable doing that, but I know that some people might not be, but I would still suggest it. That's the way you just learn to do it. Anyone can pick up, any of these tabletop games if you really enjoy doing the game. So, I have my book, um, I have my notes of, like, things I need to actually, like, get done, and then I also had to redo the Hyperion map, which is the map of the world, and of course, that means that I also had to redo the map of Steris, which is going to be the place that they all stay and do the majority of their adventures for this first campaign. So today, what I want to do in my journal is I actually want to look at some of the changes I've made and just make a list of what I need to still flush out. One of the things I know I need to still flush out is the map. So Which one is it? This one. Yes. This is the old map. I know it's super tiny, but that's because I printed it. Super tiny. But if you look at any of my previous videos, it shows you, way more detail and obviously not backwards, um, the world of High Faron. This is the map that I made for the medieval era, 5e. So I wanna remember that because this is, like I said in my how I'm keeping my GM investment video, which is essentially what that, how I'm changing systems. I am keeping all of the lore and the map and, like, the world building. I am just setting it several thousand years in the future to where things obviously have changed quite drastically, but my characters, my players, my NPCs, like, the world that I built, I don't necessarily lose any of that. I still kinda keep it, I just am changing it, I'm evolving it over time. So this is the old map of the actual world that I made, and I just made it using Incarnate, pretty easy system, but this is going to be the new map, and again, I'm not gonna show too much detail because I will come out with a video really going into depth about the changes that I've made to the world once I have finalized it. So just like the video I made when I really went into depth about like Hyperion, like the history of Hyperion and everything like that, I would do the same thing, but for this new Hyperion. So this is the new world, and you can kinda see that it's pretty like, if you were to really look at this, I think this is correct, yeah. If you were to really look at this just side by side, they are pretty different, but I don't think they're different enough to where you'd be like, "These are completely different worlds." I think this is a really good example of, like, how I have changed the world. This is the old one, this is the new one, of what, like, history has happened just by looking at it. So one of the big changes here, you can already see without me going into depth, is this blue. All of this blue section here is Hyperon Deep. So that is the deep. That's essentially the deepest part of the oceans, throughout the world, and you can see it's gotten huge. Like, it's really expanded, and that means that, some of the places where it used to be a little thinner, so, like, right here used to be land, over here used to be land, those are all, gone now because they have flooded. That is that makes sense. So, what has happened in the last couple of thousand years to make this drastic change because this change happens, like, more than just, like, 2,000 years. This would have to have been some sort of, like, a disaster, but maybe we'll learn about how the world changed so drastically in just a few thousand years, when I'm telling the story. I haven't written it yet, so that's, like, number 1 on my to-do list is I actually need to make a list of everything I've changed with the new map and then make sure that I flush it out so that if someone asks, "Hey, like, why is this whole, like, continent now a bunch of islands, and it's named something different?" I will, have at least a semblance of an answer. I don't need the whole answer, I can kinda make that up as I go along, but I do need some, like, "Well, it's because something happened at some point, and that's the reason," and then I can go more in depth as I make it up, on the spot sometimes. That's how I usually do it, but I will have a pretty good outline of, like, why this world is the way it is, for me, really, just to make sure that I know what's happened in the history. So, in the GM journal, I have, the 3 books, so this is just a calendar that has, like, all the stuff that I'm doing, not including just this current project, which is Divinity's War, but all of my projects, and then this book is specifically for Divinity's War that I decorated a couple of videos ago. And then this book here is again kind of just a ideas book for all of my ideas. So we don't need to go into this because that's heavy spoilers for other games. We don't need to go into this one because again, heavy spoilers for other games. If you want to see my original calendar, you can go and see that video. But I am changing my calendar, obviously, because things pushed back and things get moved around. But for today, we're just gonna stick in the middle Divinity's Ward book. I have a lot of stuff already written in here. This is a book that I keep this whole thing next to my bedside. I take it with me when I, like, move from, like, one area of my place to the next area. Like, I keep it in my sight, and it comes with, a little pen loop, and I just kinda keep it with me just in case I have ideas that I need to flush out, um, notes to take and stuff like that. So we kinda already have some stuff here, and they are kind of organized, not as organized as I'd like it, but they're kinda organized. So we're going to go to the one I need, which is yeah, the first section is world building. Notes. Okay. Shoot. Ooh, that's dangerous. Okay. Okay. So I have 2 pens. I don't know which one I will use, but I have a couple of things that so the old world, which I'm gonna actually pull up on my computer because these are really tiny, obviously, but I'm going to actually put this in here. So I'm actually going to just take that in right now. So this is going to be the old world. Okay, relax, relax, relax. I hate glue. Okay. So this is gonna be the old world. And in the old world, I had already kind of explained to my players some of the major political changes. One of them being that this country over here at this time when this world, when I kind of created the lore of this world, this was called North Cranston and South Cranston, and then this little chunk of land here is essentially like no man's land. That has since changed over the last couple of thousand years, and this whole place is now united as just one continent that is just governed by one, uh, not monarchy, kind of an oligarchy, the politics of this world is shifting, I'm not really sure yet. No one's a democracy, though, so let's not, think about what that will look like, but whatever whoever, governs this area now govern the entire area, it's not split anymore, like it was in the medieval era that this world was made. So that's a pretty big change, but because that's a pretty big change, particularly of, like, their military power, has also changed drastically, as well as, like, Dragon's Breath, because they lost, like, a lot of land, when the deep expanded. So those big changes, I kinda already know, like, I'm already pretty familiar with what that lore is. The other things that I just recently changed that I kinda just did not on a whim, but I kinda just did because they made sense, but I haven't really flushed out the why yet, and the how is the middle circle, which are called, like, the Ring of High Pharaoh. So, in the original lore, this Ring of High Pharaoh were continents that had all kind of banded together, um, in, like, a tiered hierarchy system where they don't even have names, they just are called the 1st, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and the 6th in terms of where they stand in the hierarchy of this alliance that was made a long time ago. In the New World, I don't know if you can really even tell on here, we are actually missing, like, a whole island. Like, this white one here is gone because the Hafarian Deep has devoured it at some point, probably. So, obviously, that whatever event happened drastically changed the political alliance that was happening in the 6, and they are no longer, like the 1st, the 2nd, 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. They are now named. What happened and why? I'll have to really figure that out. So, I think the first thing I wanna do with the old world is just put the major political things that I am going to need to flush out, particularly Clarinston and Dragon's Breath. I really need to create essentially an entire, like, history just for those 2. At least then so that I know what happened. What the players will encounter and figure out and learn, you know, that'll be that'll be its own thing, but I need to at least know what happened. So, that's really important for the old world. I think another thing for the old world that I probably need to flush out is originally had Ithro, which is this little continent down here, and Pyrrhus, this continent up here, being relatively neutral, and in this time period. And I actually don't think I've thought about, um, if they're going to stay neutral or what has happened to them, to be honest, because they are still in this new world. There's Ithral and there's Pearl. So I didn't actually think about what I wanted to do with those, so let's do that. I don't think I need a full history of those 2 because I just don't think I need that right now. I think right now for the campaign at least we're doing, the most important, like, full history for me to know is gonna be between Cleanston and Dragon's Breath, but, maybe in a future campaign, Pearl and April will become important, so I do want to at least establish how they've changed throughout time. So I will just do a bit of a brief history understanding of that, and then what else? 10th does not really change that much. I mean, you can kinda see sort of that some of the colors have changed. That's just because geographically, the climate has changed, obviously, very drastically. So and then we have a couple of new places, but I'm gonna put that on the new world when I glue this in, but I don't think there's anything else from the old world I really need to flush out at the moment. I do know that I need to just really look at this a little bit more and make sure that I have everything. I think for now, I'm good. Yeah. So, we're gonna move on, and we're gonna keep this whole page just so that I can take notes when I think of different stuff. We're gonna keep the front and the back of that, and then we're gonna put the new world in here, and I have quite a lot to edit on the new world. Let me pull up on my computer, let me actually pull up the new world, which is Hyperion 2230 34, yeah, 2234. Okay, so some pretty major changes I've made, other than the difference in the kind of Glisten and Dragon's Breath. Those 2 have drastically changed. Other than those 2, though, there's also been a change in the middle continents. Number 1 is that they all now have names, and number 2 this area over here, which used to be, part of Dragon's is now a bunch of islands, and they have a new name. I thought this was a really great idea, but I have not flushed that out. So, again, some of this stuff is not really important for this campaign. Like, they're not going to go I mean, I'm assuming I need to really be careful, though, of what I say, but I'm assuming they're not gonna be able to go to any of these islands, or this island in this campaign. But you know what? Players have surprised me before, so I'm I'll have to cross that bridge if it comes down to it, but for now, I am just going to do a simple flush out of the history. I also wanna make sure that I remember all of the names that I came up with because, again, I kinda just, pants these names as I was creating the map, just like I did the first time. So, I want to make sure that I record the names that I created and what I'm thinking in terms of the culture, the people, the history, like, what happens, uh, when countries change, like, fully do maybe like a 180 in terms of allegiances, alliances, who's neutral, who's not neutral. Like, I need to kinda go through each country just to have some sort of a background because they are gonna come in contact with individuals who come from these countries. So I definitely need to know, like, what their history is so that I can cater the people I create to the culture of the place. So, that is probably my biggest, and probably what is going to be the most time consuming in terms of figuring out what these worlds look like is I will kind of figure that out as I make NPCs. And that's what I did for the last, in medieval era, and that's gonna be the same thing I do here. I just need to make sure that I connect it to history. So, we have what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 there's 6. Yeah, 'cause Zila. So, there are 6 new they're not really new, but we're gonna call them new because I haven't made any, history for them yet. So, we'll need some history for those, just, I think, brief, not really a whole, like, chronicle or anything, just a brief history. I think we're going to need, I need to look at language, obviously culture, and politics. Those are probably the main ones that I just need to know just as I make it. I don't need to know too much more until we get further into campaigns. I think that's good. And again, I will leave lots of space so that I can edit that later. I do also have a change in branding. There's a lot going on with Hyperion and Divinity's Ward in general in terms of what it now looks like. And originally, I didn't have a symbol or anything, but, I think that made sense for the time period. Like, I don't think at the time when I made the medieval world, Hyperion cared about branding because they were still in a time of, archon not in a time of technology. Now that they're in a time of technology, I think they are fundamentally going to be, experiencing a lot of different things that are now kind of cultural necessities. Is it gonna have things like social media? Probably not. It's just not this is not a consumerism based like a consumerism focused capitalistic in the way that we understand capitalism today. That's not the world that I'm building in my head. This is way worse. Unfortunately, it's kind of way worse. I'm thinking more of on the lines of it's on its way to Blade Runner, status, like, it's on its way to Maze Runner, like, it's on its way to Apocalypse is more of where we are right now, like, it's already instability in terms of, like, its politics and its economy. That's where Hyperion is today, which, really sucks for everybody living on this world. So, I think that branding would be just a little bit more important because it would make more sense for how the world has evolved. And so they now have a I don't know, what is this called? A symbol or something? Relax. Okay. But this is the symbol essentially for Divinity Sword. And I'm sure if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll kind of get why this symbol is what it is. I did create this, with as much talent as I have, which is so this is the best I got, and this works well for what I need. So I now do have essentially a symbol for all of Hyperion. I thought this was a good idea, and now I'm just gonna put it on, like, all of the maps and stuff like that. Probably put it on all of the materials as well that I create, just as a symbol of this world, in this time frame anyway, so that's that. I did print it because I thought maybe I wanted to put it in the book, but maybe I don't. No. Okay. So that kinda does the map planning, like, how I want that. I did, edit the character sheets. I got some really great feedback, and then I made some further changes just after workshopping some things, so I did finalize what I wanted the roles to look like, and then I kinda wrote up what the roles meant, as well as kind of a example of what what, um I guess what benefit it is to have the roles that I've added. Um, and they are essentially just like another but in something, like, specific, almost as if I'm allowing my players to add proficiency to certain stats that they normally wouldn't have under their class or something like that, or their archetype, because they have chosen uh to work in this specialization. That's why I created the roles, because of how I now kinda reworked their relationship to one another, in the world. So it just made sense, and I thought I would like it, and I think I still do. Sometimes when you add homebrew, aspects, particularly before you've ever, like, played the game, you don't know if it's going to work. So I made the roles, I flushed them out, I tried to give examples of how I would think I would want to use them, and why they are important, and then once we actually get into gameplay, I'll be able to see if they work the way I thought they were gonna work, or if they don't, and then I will make changes accordingly, but I did already kind of finalize the role. Nothing's really finalized in in homebrew games, bec until, like, I've played it, but I did finalize that. Another thing I finalized that I need to flesh out a little bit more is reputation, because reputation is, again, something I added, and I wanna make sure that, again, reputation is very useful to the players, like, it's a perk, um, and I don't think I did that. Maybe I did it somewhere else. Mm. It's too I have too many different documents. I think I did something with the okay, I made reputation roll, that's what I did. But I need to make a rule for that role. So, that would usually go in mechanics. So I'm in the role building section. So I'm gonna go to the mechanical section that has all my notes about all the added mechanics, and then I'm skipping a whole page, but I don't want anyone to see all of that, so I'll go back and I'll fill that in, with other stuff. This book will be full by the time I'm ready to run the campaign, probably like half full, I'm hoping, so I don't all, but I will continue to mm, I'll continue to fill it up as we play and as it changes. So, I made Reputation a role, because I tested it. I play solo games when I don't have people to play, or I'll do a play test. So, I did test it, and I just found that originally I had Reputation be a number system. So, like, if you just it's almost accumulates like inspiration. So it's just given to you, based on how you interact with people in the world over time and how you show your devotion to the goddess, essentially, is what it was. And I still am doing that, but I wanted to then figure out, well, then how do you use it? You know what I mean? Like, no one's gonna come up to you and be like, "What's your reputation score?" I could have done it that way, but I don't think I wanted to. I wanted to have reputation be a little bit more real. Like, reputation can sometimes be positive and it can sometimes be negative, but the point is that people know you. So I didn't want it to be like I need the numbers so I could know where people were in their reputation, like, journey, but I didn't want to use the numbers as, like, a way for people in the world to find out what your reputation is. That makes sense, I'm sure, to someone, maybe just me. But essentially, that was my idea. Um, so, choo, choo, choo. So I have a I have a list, of, like, the levels of reputation as, like, you accumulate points, but I need to make a rule of a couple of things. So, if it's a point system in terms of, like, how you accumulate, I need to know as the GM how I'm giving out points. Very much like inspiration, you kind of delineate why you would give a player inspiration and how they would earn inspiration. So, I need to flush out how my players are going to earn, uh, reputation. And that's earned reputation from me as, like, the GM and me as the NPC. So, I already know that the idea of this reputation, like, model that I created is how they are presenting or acting or how they interact with the world and how that's perceived. So that's how reputation works. But I need to know, well, then what constitutes you earning or you losing reputation? Like, when you are interacting with someone, what is the interaction I'm looking for that would equate you earn a point or you would lose a point? I need to know that. And then players will learn that as they play. So they'll learn that in game. So I need to know how players earn reputation. Um, I also need to know, like, I have to have a rule for when you roll. So when would you roll reputation? I believe I've already decided on the skills that would be in reputation. I think I think I did, yeah. But I will write this down anyway to make sure that I have everything in one place, but I need to know, like, what your rolling, so, like, what the role is, what a reputation role is. Alright, and what else I need to know on reputation? I could let them buy reputation, the legend points. Hmm, hmm. That that idea that I literally just had 5 seconds ago, has a couple of really fun, uh, ways it could go, but also not sure I'm sold on that yet, but I will put it down as, you know, as I'm just figuring it out. Maybe I will test that and see if it's useful. I don't know. I don't know about that one, but I will put, like, a little maybe next to this idea of buying reputation points. I'll just put buying reputation points because you could I could use legend points for that, or I could have to buy it in a different way. Um, we'll see that. So I think reputation, I'm just looking at the character sheet that I think is the final one. I did update it, and I, did update it in, the folder for my players. So I think that's good. I am also creating, so I had already created custom items, in the previous iteration of this game. I had gifted each player a very special item, either an item or a spell or, a companion or like a familiar. And so that was important for the story as well as for their, like, character's personal story, their personal journey. So I am going to keep that, but I needed to rework them. So I met with each player individually to try and talk about what they would maybe want in, like, this new version of this world, based on, like, what is now available, which is actually a lot more. So I do already have those organized. This is my first time making custom, like, items for this game, obviously, so I'm not sure if something is going to be, like, too OP or too underpowered, like, I've yet to run a battle, so I don't know what's going to be most useful, what's not gonna be very useful. I don't have any player experience, so I will probably ask for just some, like, feedback on some of, like, 1 or 2 of my makeups, like, my show somebody my stat blocks or something for one of them and see if this makes sense for, like, the level that we're playing and, what I'm wanting the team for, and hopefully I can make some edits, before we play, before I give it to them. Um, so let's just put that as a to-do, honestly, because I don't wanna forget that. I want to get feedback on, custom items. Okey dokies. So, what have I done? Oh, yeah. Another map that I actually needed to change is the Asteris map. I don't have I'm not gonna print this out because I'm not done working on it, but Asteris has changed again, not I wouldn't call it drastically because all of the cities that were there before are still there, I believe. I don't think I've taken anything out. However, this world is now extremely populated, so I kinda had to do a bit of a deforestation, 'cause that's what happens, unfortunately, most of the time, so I had to take out a lot of, like, the natural, uh, like, beauty that was naturally there to make room for more buildings, and I try to give them all kind of, like, different looks, so I'm hoping that that works, but I have because I've changed, like, the population, there's been an influx of, like, people from other places for about a couple of years already. The original culture of Asteris was essentially a beautiful land that had, at this point, been pretty much untouched, where the local population was, you know, open to visitors, um, but was not expecting such a boom, um, in, in people coming over and living. It's a story of colonization, I think we can say it. So but that was the medieval era, and that was literally just happening, like, that's what was going on at that time. This is many, many years later, so what does it look like now? I haven't written that history yet, um, because I'm still kind of figuring out what this world would look like in because one of the bigger things that even though I saved, all of the work that I had already put into this world by just putting it in the future, one of the big things that I can't save is what would have happened if my players had gone to the world and done the adventures, and because they would have had a direct, you know, change on Steris. But in the new iteration, they never did that. So now I'm, like, kinda in a bit of a time loop where I'm writing the dimension where they never went. So, which is real fun, but I'm also kind of, huh, because when I think about the campaign that I wrote or was in the process of writing and all of the things that they could have interacted with, all of the changes they could have made, it's like, what would have happened if none of that happened? It's a great question. I'm going to answer it slowly, but I also don't have a lot of time to answer it slowly. And Asteris is the place they will be staying in well, I'm assuming the entire campaign. Again, players always surprise me, so I don't ever wanna say they're not leaving, but, the plan is for them to stay. So, I do need to probably, once I finish the map, is really start, like, sitting down and writing what these places are, um, that are on the map, like, and then how time has changed. Like, they're not gonna learn all of this stuff, all of the history of this place in pain, that's impossible. But I do want to have some sort of a background so that I know that if they go somewhere and do something and meet someone, have an understanding of what that place has been through for the last, couple of 100 years, because it just helps me build out the lore. So, that's probably the number one next thing I need to do now that I have finalized character sheets, um, now that I have kind of organized at least, like, the general, like, the overall world build. Now I need to get a little bit more specific as over the last. couple of thousand years. So, I think that's gonna be just like a big old to-do list. I really need to just flush out Asteris. Let me put this in here. Have it. Just put it up in here. Yeah. We're gonna flush out Asteris. And I probably need to make a list of all of the cities, towns, stuff like that, and do exactly what I did for the first iteration. So for the first iteration, if you watch my video when I talk about, planning the sessions, I actually just put the name of the city or the town, if it's a city or a town, so, like, how big it is, and like, what the prominent, like, NPCs are gonna be in that space, what the prominent, like, areas are going to be, or, like, locations for the players, etcetera, etcetera. So I already did that, but, it's going to be drastically different, so I'm gonna do it again, and that'll probably take me, like, a couple of hours, but that's not really gonna be that difficult. I think the most, time-consuming part of just doing that, though, is going to be then figuring out the the people, because there's way more people in this world. It's much bigger. It's still very, like, small in comparison to other places, but it is quite large, so how do you think about that? Okay, let's see where I'm at. I'm looking at my to-do list here. I think I have gotten you know what? I also need to do one more thing. I'm gonna put that in world building, or actually, should I put it in yes. Um, I actually need to flush out the whole so in the previous, in the, like, whole telling of why people have holy symbols, why holy symbols are important, and how my players are using holy symbols. I actually I don't really have that, but it is a little bit different nowadays, I think. So I'm just gonna put a note to, like, over here to work on holy symbols. I also I also think I made a did I make a holy symbol roll? Not oh, I did. Kind of. It's like an item/equipment slash equipment because it's a physical item that is on the player's person that they can channel or tune and use. But obviously, if it's, like, not on their person or if it's taken or stolen, then it makes a difference. So, um, I actually have it on the character sheet, something that they roll because it is I think it's the equipment, but sometimes it's a weapon, and then other times it can be like a boon. So, I actually need to create, roles for those then, for each of those, because 'cause they're all different for each player. So, list, let's see. Okay. Well, this was good. This was a lot of really good work. This is usually what I use my journal for. It's just brainstorming, organizing, figuring out what my next steps are, making notes, and even making finalizations. So it's messy, it's not really pretty other than a little bit of decoration I did, and I like it that way because that's what this is for. It's supposed to just be a functional journal, for me to review and open when I need to make changes to things or additions and things like that. It has been really fun to, use this so far. I think this is a really great, uh, journal to purchase and invest in, and I really, really have enjoyed using it. But I usually only have, like an hour or 2 hours if I which I'm not for these days. So I usually have, like, an hour in the morning before, like, work, to kind of just get some brainstorming done, maybe get some writing done, organize my next session. And this is how I get my GM responsibilities out of the way, as well as, like, all the other things I'm doing with, school and classes and then work and the other stuff I do, and it works for me. So, I think I got a lot done today, and I have a lot to continue to work on, but this initial planning stage is invaluable because I'm gonna just be able to move forward knowing what I need to do, and I kinda have already even spaces in my journal for what I know I need to fill in, and that works for me really, really well. So, that's it. Nothing like a live, 8 o'clock in the morning, which is really great for me. So, as always, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.